Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, share special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Hi, everyone. Today I have the pleasure of chatting with guest author Ava Harrison. Welcome to Audiobook Lovin Series. Ava, how are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm excited. I know that you spoke with Shane on the Shane East Meets a few months ago, but now I get to have you. So
And I am excited to be here.
Yes, thank you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been writing, and how you got started as an author?
Okay, well, that's a long, twisted story. I started writing, as most people do, as a little girl. I would sit and just come up with crazy stories in my head. But back then, I was a kid and that didn't get me very far. And then I got a little older and I was in college and I wrote short stories then as well. And that actually was interesting because I used to leave the short stories around the house. And I've always written in first person present tense. So when my mom found those short stories, she assumed that they were my diaries. So that was interesting also. And then, as I got older, I actually went into marketing in New York and stopped doing that when I had children, and then decided to pick it back up because I was such a big reader and I had all these unfinished manuscripts that I had started in my early 20s. And, and it kind of went from there. And I published my first book in 2015. And it's actually was May of 2015. Wow, it's been 5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, and so, it just kind of, it was supposed to be one of those things where I published my first book. I wasn't going to write another one. It was kind of something that I had always wanted to do, as I said, since I was a little girl. And I just wanted to know that I could do it. And so after that first book, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this again. And then I'm sure most authors will tell you, another story, another set of characters jumped in my head. And then I wrote that book. And then it happened again. And again. And eventually I realized, oh, no, I'm just going to just do this full time. Right. And so that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Wow. Well, when it works out, that's awesome.
And now the voices don't shut up.
So authors say that all the time, that the characters come to them and start talking to them. Is that how it happens with you too?
So usually it doesn't necessarily happen like that. A lot of the times I'm inspired by images, right? And so, like, for example, the first time I had written a bunch of books that were, more women's fiction-y. And then I saw a picture of this man in a suit and he was sitting in New York City on a stoop. And I was like, he looks like a therapist. And I'm like, and he looks like a therapist who would have an affair with his patient. And then I plotted out transference from that image. And that's basically where I've been ever since, is I usually get an image first, and then I will come up with a story in my head for that image. Sometimes it works the other way. Like, I have an image in my head and then I write another book and one of the side characters starts to resemble that image that I had seen. And then from there, another story comes. But I'm very visual. And so, but they do talk to me. Like, a lot of the times when I'm writing one story, the character for the next story will talk to me.
They like to keep your attention going, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky in the sense that somebody's always talking to me, because I would hate for it to be like, crickets and nothing happening, because then I would have nothing to write. And so I'm very happy and thankful that that's the level of my crazy.
Not crazy, just creative.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that from a genre perspective, your genre that you write, it's contemporary romance, but it's also more, I don't want to say twist, but you really focus more on the realness of it all. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I like to write real stories that would happen to real people. And I know I think Shane and I joked about it, if they were all billionaires, right? Like, so, real stories that happen to real people if everybody was a billionaire. And and basically like the type of like things I talk about in my books are usually things that aren't necessarily prevalent in romance novels. However, I feel like they give the characters almost like the three-dimensional, like they're real people, because they do have real struggles. Of course, being the fact that they're billionaires. But, other than that, not all my characters are billionaires. I'm just joking. All the men are.
Yeah. I was going to say, and there it is.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's also kind of a little bit of a running joke now with some of us that love the different genres, is when it comes down to the billionaires, we always are told they're billionaires. Very few times does the author tell us exactly how they got the money. Whether it's an inheritance or if, there's been a few where there have been tech guys.
I do. I will tell you, I do. I always get really involved in whether he's, he runs a hedge fund, or whether his grandfather had a textile business, or now I'm writing more of the anti-hero. So they're all billionaires, but I'm very I just published a book in which he is the corrupt banker. So he runs the bank for the underworld. And that's how he got his billions. Off of the interest of a mob boss,
Of course. I mean, how else?
Yeah, of course. But at least I told you how he got
Exactly, which is good too. Because again, it's just one of those, like, I've been alive for X amount of years, and I have yet to do an internship with a billionaire. I have yet to work in an office with a billionaire. Plus, that looks how you guys write, by the way. Let me add that caveat. So it's like, okay, cool. You were saying that the anti-hero. What made you decide to go into that, to write that style? That character.
It's funny. So, okay, originally I wrote this book called Entice, right? And Entice is the story of Grayson Price. And, he falls for his best friend's daughter, okay? And so when I was plotting out this story, I really shouldn't even tell the story because it's so fun, it's so stupid. I was plotting out this story with my close friend that I plot books with, and we couldn't think of a name for her father. And so we decided and some other secondary characters. So we decided to use placeholders. And the placeholders were all characters from Gossip Girl. I don't know why, but we were plotting, and it was really months ahead of me writing the book, and I hadn't come up with River yet, and I hadn't come with, Grace and I had already known, but the other characters I didn't. So what other way would you do it? I did placeholders. And so in the first draft of Entice, her father was named Cyrus because that was his placeholder. And his last name was Reed. And I was writing, and I'm at this party at one point in the book. I say it like I'm actually the character River, right? And she looks across the room and she sees her father's cousin, who is a real ruthless asshole. Sorry, can I say that?
Yeah, you're fine.
Right? and all of a sudden I was like, that's it. I have to change the name. That's Cyrus Reed. He's Cyrus Reed. And so I obviously changed her father's name to Tyler, which wasn't, ruthless.
Doesn't sound like that, Tyler.
And that's where the name Cyrus Reed was born, right? And it was just an offset. She was at a party and she looked across. I don't even know why she looked across the room. Was it really that important that she looked at this? But it just was this line I wrote that she looked across the room and saw him. And then I changed the name. And the next thing you know, I was writing about it. I wanted to write about someone who was ruthless, And so I went in to write Jackson Price's story, which is a standalone off in the same series as Entice. And I was like, he's going to go to Cyrus Reed's house. Again, Cyrus Reed, this guy who was was a placeholder in a book, right? And I was like, he runs an underground, poker game in which he cleans the money for his dirty clients. I don't know where the hell that came from. But next thing you know, I was writing a book about an anti-hero. And to be honest, I love reading mafia books. And I love reading alpha asshole books. And so I was like, I've written the jerk, I've written the sarcastic jerk, I've written the arrogant billionaire jerk. But you know what I haven't written? I haven't written that yet. The guy you really need to hate because he really isn't a good guy, but he can be redeemable, right? But so I was like, I'm going to do this. And so that's what happened. Next thing you know, I wrote Corrupt Kingdom. And it was, it's one of my favorite books because it's a book that I would love to read myself, right? It's just everything that I wanted in a book. And I just wrote it. And that's it.
When things align, right?
Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's
Mhm.
a modern, it's a modern retelling of Hades and Persephone,
Nice. I
which
love
is,
Greek
it's,
mythology.
yeah. And I love Greek mythology too. And so I really had this, I had been reading something and I was like, I want to write a modern retelling of Hades and Persephone. And so, he kidnaps her in the beginning. And obviously the story is my story in the sense that I've made my own twist to it and put my own backstories. But it's that, ultimate, that the concept of he sees her, he takes her, and I just really wanted to write that type of story.
Yeah. Almost like a cat. See something once, it takes it.
Exactly. I don't know if Cyrus would like you calling him a cat, but
Oh, well, I'm sure if you go into the whole like a jaguar or something like that, he might be a
maybe
little
if
more
it was some hot,
predatorish,
sexy cat.
Yeah, exactly. More predatorish, in the night
Yeah.
darkness of stuff. Yeah, so I'll
Yeah.
it's for him to send me a text now via Facebook. Like he has.
Oh my God, right? He sends text messages. He might send you one.
I was gonna imagine. I was like, "What did you say you called me?" I didn't say pussycat. I just said a cat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A fierce one.
Yes, the dark, in the night prowler, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Boys and their egos. I had reached out to a few of your readers that I know love all about your stories and things like that, and one of them mentioned that your titles tend to be very single word use.
I know. And we actually, it's funny, when I was on the message with not the message, the call with Shane, he
Yeah.
asked me a question about my upcoming book, and I was like, it's 2 words.
Yeah.
Right?
Shocker.
I got crazy up in here.
Yeah. So did you have a plan for it to be that way at the beginning,
I
or it's just
did.
one?
I
Okay.
have to tell you,
Yeah.
it all came to me last summer. I mean, and when I tell you it all came to me last summer, because I was writing Entice in May. So it was really May of last year. And as soon as I came up with the fact that this guy was getting his own book and he was no longer going to be a placeholder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I said that, I actually had messaged my friend Lee Shen, and I gave her a little synopsis, and I told her it was about Hades and Persephone. And actually Lee was the one who gave me the title. And I was like, because I had said to her, I want to make it 2 words. And she's like, wow, 2 words? And I said, right? And
Yeah.
I go, I know, crazy. But I felt like it needed its own new spin because this was going to be the anti-heroes, And so she was like, Corrupt Kingdom. And that was it. It didn't even it wasn't even a long drawn out, me hemming and hawing over it was like, okay, done. And she's like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, no, it's done. And she's like, that was the fastest decision you've ever made. I'm like, okay, hold on. What do you think of this this branding? And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, this is the cover image. She's like, we just came up with the title right now. And I'm like, yeah, I move really fast.
Well, you know what you want and you know what you like, right?
It's true. That's exactly, in every aspect of my life, I know exactly what I want. And I'm one of those people who even with wedding, when I was planning my wedding, it was people were like, this is the fastest any bride has ever picked out invitations. And I was like, really? This it takes a long time? Right? I just know what I like and I know what I don't like. And so the moment she said that title, I was like, thank you. And so, yes, I'm going to give her full credit. She came up with the name Corrupt Kingdom.
Does that mean that now going forward in this new arc I guess you want to call it, because it's not series. They're not like they're standalones, but they're within the same world. Does that mean that there's going to be more books that are multi-word versus just one? Or are you going to go
I
back?
don't want to give anything away,
Oh,
but yes. Yes, the next book I am writing, and I actually am starting on May 1st, no pressure, is a 2-word title. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Getting crazy again.
It's all about branding. I think it's, we talk about the writing and the stories, but when as an indie author, you are more in control of your brand and what you choose to, name the books, the images that you want to use, the covers back and forth, all this stuff. So you have complete more, control of it. The names of the books are also really important. That is part of the brand.
Yeah, 100%. And so when I came up with Corrupt Kingdom with Lee, I actually, when she said that name, I had come up with I don't want to give anything away of how long my series is going to be. And to be honest, I don't want to say it anyway, because let's be honest, even though I came up with XYZ amount of titles, for all you know, I'll get sidetracked and do something else, right?
Exactly.
However, I did come up with a bunch of storylines, a bunch of characters, a bunch of titles that I did write down and save. So if I, get inspired, I can keep going in this series. But I mean, it's a series of, it would be a series of standalone novels, but still, it would be in the same vein, writing about the I can't pronounce it right now.
The anti-hero.
The anti-hero. I just can't say that word for some reason. But yes, it would be writing about the villains, basically.
Yeah. The other thing that they were talking about when it comes down to your books and your book covers is not only the single title, single word title, but also your images. All your books, as of right now, unless you throw us a curveball, have been single image, black and white, very good looking males.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. They're easy on the eyes.
Yeah, very much so. And that again, it kind of stands out. I will also say that these images are not some that I've seen over and over and over again. So that's also a good thing.
No, yeah.
What made you decide to go that route?
Again, it all stems from Transference. Okay, so before Transference, I had written 2 books that were more women's fiction. I mean, they are romance, but they were more women's fiction. And there were women on the covers. And when I saw the cover of Transference, I just fell in love with it. And it became almost like the turn in my career when I started to write a different type of book, right?
Mm-hmm.
More romance focused. I mean, I wouldn't say my books are 100% romance focused in the sense that the story arc is usually more about the individual's growth, the character growth separately and then together. But so I started off with this being inspired by the main character, the man in the story. I don't even know how that happened, but it just kind of took off from then, and that's what inspires me now is the next cover after Transference was Illicit, which is Chad Hurst. And and it just kept growing, right? And then it became part of my branding, right? It was how do you change it after, I think we're 10 books, it's 10 books now. And so I'm oh, well, maybe I'll do something different. But then, I get inspired all over again. I said I was going to do something different, and I already bought the cover for my next book, right? And spoiler alert, it's black and white and it's a man. It's weird. Don't know how that happened.
I know. It's how could we have predicted that?
I really don't think you could have. I really feel like this was a game changer.
Yeah. Well, we like when things are consistent, and especially when it's part of a, even though it's a standalone, but it's within the same vein or the same world building, to have something that's consistent that we can automatically say that's an Ava book.
Well, I also think that my books have whether or not they're a little snarkier, a little funnier, a little lighter, a little darker, a villain, no matter what, I feel like there's a level of darkness in the writing. I'm not talking about a dark romance where, people are,
Yeah.
being whipped with chains and stuff. I'm talking emotionally dark. Okay. And I think that the best way to convey to the audience that you're writing an emotionally dark book that deals with tough topics, I think that the branding has to match. I'm not going to put like a cartoon picture on my book. I feel like that wouldn't necessarily depict what's inside the story. And so I feel like I'm not against trigger warnings, for example, and I've never come to the position where I feel like I need to put one yet. But I feel like also most people go into my books knowing what they're going to get. They know it's going to be an angsty book, more emotional because of the cover and the blurb. Yeah. And so I think it's important, as long as I'm writing books the way that I'm writing them, to keep with the branding so that no one's confused.
And then that definitely helps the listeners and the readers. I know that when we think of those more cute, like animated or cartoonish, covers, automatically we're thinking rom-com. Or women's fiction.
Could you imagine if you like saw my cute, if I had like a really cute picture and then you opened it and you're like, oh, okay.
Boss, okay.
So that's what happens in a rom-com, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's another reason I stick to what I know. I mean, the titles, the coloring, the fonts, those things can change, but I feel like until I'm writing a book that is laugh out loud funny. And I'm not talking about one snarky comment here or there that makes you laugh, because yes, I have had books that have had snarky banter that make the readers laugh 100%. But like 2 chapters later, someone dies. you know? Sorry. Oops.
Oopsie. Yeah. Not the rom-com we were thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. That wasn't that. I don't think that goes with the character, like, a characterized image of like I don't know, a turtle. But I don't really think it matches the brand.
Exactly. The other thing too that you have to kind of do when you are doing the audiobooks is you have to select the narrators.
So yeah, that's a big job.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I mean, we all have our favorites, and I'm not going to put you on the spot for you to tell us who yours are, but I will.
I'm quite partial to a certain Brit, but
yeah.
I think he knows that too.
Yeah.
The problem is, and it is, I text Shane all the time, like, so do you do French? And he's like, do you want me to do French? I'm like, I kind of want you to do French. Like, and I'll just like text him like, so I think I should do this. Can you do this accent? He's like, or you can hire an American to like do the American accent. And I'm like, fine. Oh God. So annoying.
I know, right? I mean, like, hello. Yeah.
But he's such a pleasure to work with, right?
Yes.
And I've also gotten to know him, right? From doing signings and calls and stuff. And so working with him is always a pleasure. I have other narrators I work with a lot, and that other narrators I love. And then there's a lot of narrators that I want to work with. I just don't write fast enough. So even Shane, when I was talking to him, I don't know, I was like, I really want to hire you can you keep me open for fall? But then my schedule backs up and it keeps backing up. And now we're not looking at fall anymore because I can't write that book, right? Like that book that I have in my head for him, now we're looking at winter. And so it's hard, I mean, I always come up with my narrators before I start to write my book. I refuse to write my books if I don't know who the narrator is. Because I consider audio to be such a large part of the experience. And so I don't want to have to like write a book and then have to change the voice because the narrator doesn't deliver the line the way I thought it would be. I think it's just easier, but I also, it's a little bit different. I have the luxury of doing that because I produce my own audio, with a production company, of course, because I'm not that talented.
It's a lot of work.
Guys, right? I have no idea. All I know is that I love lyric audiobooks and that they do the work for me. But, it's one of those things that I do think about the narrators beforehand so that I'm writing for their type of humor or their type of emotion, whatever they do. And, I mean, I'm lucky to do that. I mean, I guess a lot of people like, if you sell your rights, I guess you can't do that.
Yeah. It's interesting how, we're still in that world where the author doesn't have a whole lot of say when it comes down to some of the publishing decisions.
Yeah.
But this is also where it's a good pro-con list of going indie, figuring out if it's worth it or not. When you write the books and you're saying that you have already more or less selected the narrator.
I've already hired.
Good.
So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say which narrators I hired for my next book, which I'll give you the initials. But it's subject to change if I get a moody, it's the initials are T-E. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure that's correct.
Yeah.
Would you how funny would it be if it wasn't not actually? Let's look at the mock-up because I actually have the mock. No, I'm not going to look up the mock-up because I can't show you guys of the cover again, right? It's T-E.
Okay.
I have the image. I have the cover. And I have the narrators hired. And, that's why I feel comfortable starting to write my book on May 1st, because I know that I'm prepared for, the voices to come to me. And so I'm in the process of plotting it now with those voices in my head.
Yeah. So you hear the narrator. So for Corrupt Kingdom, it was Sebastian York and Ava Erickson.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure everybody realizes that at this point that I love Sebastian York, right? He is
just a bit.
Yeah, I love him. We've done, I think this is our third book we just did, right? Corrupt Kingdom. And he is my go-to for a certain character. So I love to write the older man, younger woman trope. And so whenever I'm doing an older man, younger woman trope, he's who I go to. So if you see Sebastian York is on the roster, you could be like, oh, he's older.
Sure. Got it.
It's kind of like if you see that I'm obviously if you see that Shane East, if I make an announcement that Shane East is next, right? Then you're like, oh, she's writing a British man, right?
Yes.
And I have different people that I choose if the woman is going to be in the same age bracket as the main, so when I did Absolution, I used Grace Grant and Sebastian York, right? And they were closer in age. It wasn't really necessarily he was late 30s and she was, early 30s type thing. You know what I mean? It's I have voices that I choose for certain ages. And Ava Erickson just has this flowery, beautiful, gorgeous, young voice. And she just is just such, her voice makes me smile. It's just one of those voices. And I love every narrator. Obviously, I love working with Andy. Andy has a beautiful voice. Everybody I've ever worked with, they're amazing. But, it's a lot of the times, depending on what the character is, you'll see, I had Andy recently narrate Conceal, and Willow was this kick-ass girl, but she was very emotional at the same time internally. And Andy made me cry. Every time I listened to Andy speak in that book, I was crying because she is so damn good, and she just did the role so well. And so, so you can, when I tell the narrator, you can get a glimpse of what the characters are going to be like,
Yeah. And it's definitely a good hint. Except that nowadays the narrators are doing significantly more, the different accents. So for example, Shane has been now known to do a lot of Scottish and Irish. Zach,
I know.
Yeah, Zach
and French.
Yeah, and French too now. Yeah, exactly. And Zachary Weber does a really good Brit accent too. And let's see, Jason Clark is another one. I don't think you've had Jason. Have you had Jason?
I haven't.
Oh, you should.
I should put him in my 2021.
Yes. He does
my
really
roster.
Good, yeah, 2021 exactly.
Yep. What kind of character do you think he does best? Let's see. We could write towards him.
Oh my goodness. Actually, you know what? He has such a range that he could be the nice guy next door to the guy that is the evil villain with the growly. Yeah, he has
I love that.
He has a really good growly voice for that when he wants to.
Which is your favorite growly voice of his? Because I'm gonna have to listen to it now.
Oh,
That's a good one. Now I put you on the spot. How do you like that?
Love you. Well, he does it again. It's just I've heard him. He's done. Let's see, where was it? Lauren Blakely has done a few with him where it's, he's the nice guy and everything, but when it comes down to the bedrooms, like yum, growling. And it's like, ooh, did not expect that. Good. And then there was this other one I'm trying to see. He did it with Ava Lucas, and it was like 2 short novellas, and he was royalty kind of thing, and a bit of not an ass, but full of it. And
no, you could say ass, and I'm gonna be like, okay,
ooh.
I dig it. Wait, you're an ass? Okay, I'm all for it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
here for that.
he can, like I said, he has such a range. So it's just one of those where when it comes to casting him, I am all for, open interpretation, as to what you want from him. Because
well, that's like Zach Weber too. He is so good. Oh my God. And he delivers a funny line. Like I had him playing Jackson Price in Conceal. And Jackson is just one of those like funny, sarcastic guys. And he's just so good. So good. I mean, there's so many amazing narrators out there, and they're just I think it's so much fun though. That's why I like to do it the way I do it, because it's so much fun to hear their voice in your head. And like I had a great time writing for Shane, right? And like thinking about how he was going to say that line because of his accent and all of that. And he made fun of me when I told him that. A lot. But like, I was like, so that's what you sound like in my head when you I want to hear it.
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, I read some books where I'm editing something and I've been told that he's going to be the narrator. I automatically hear him in my head as I'm reading, and it's just one of those, it's eerie. Because I don't have and I'm hearing him literally in my head, and I'm like, get out.
Get out of my head.
But no, he's a dear. I adore him. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where the narrator is important. I mean, I'm a firm believer that the narrator can either make it or break it. The
100%. 100%. I agree 100%. And even like all the narrators I've ever used, even the ones when I did sell my rights, were always amazing. And I was lucky when I sold a few of my books too. I sold a book to Audible and I sold one to Tantor. And I was lucky that I did have the choice of narrators. So it still was the same, right? Like I had ability to pick my narrators.
Yeah. This is always a good thing when you have them.
Yes, 100%.
I also like having to bringing in discovering new narrators. Do you get all excited about that too when you've discovered a new one?
So I've yet to discover. Well, I don't know. Actually, you know what? I believe I was. No, that was just no. I have yet to discover a new narrator. Everybody always discovers them first, but.
Well, discovering new to you, because the other thing too,
But I have a list of narrators that I've met, because I was lucky enough to go to the Sovas and meet a lot of narrators and get to know them and have put them on the list of future projects, right? Like not every project will fall. Like a lot of the times things happen, you write books, you write characters, you already have voices in your head. And I'm looking a year out half the time, right? But I was lucky enough to meet so many amazing narrators when I was in LA that in my head I'm like, I need to work with this one, this one, this one, this one. I just don't have enough time.
Yeah.
I want to write faster.
Yeah. It's I think it was it was Shane actually. I'm talking way too much to Shane. No, darn. I think it's just one of those he's like, oh yeah, I'm so busy, blah blah blah. I'm like, see, this is what happens when you're that good.
Yeah.
They get booked, which is a good thing.
Well, that's one of the things that happens. So so my schedule has changed since making audio a priority, right? I have to have my books done 2 months before. So I had my book done, it released, it might have released April 11th, 12th. I don't know when it released, but 6 weeks before it was in Sebastian York's hand, minimum, right? A minimum of 6 weeks. And so it changes the way, because it's important the way, I never did that. I used to write my book and then it would go to the editors and then it'd come back from the editors and then I'd be like, I guess I push publish, right? Oops. But now with the Audible pre-orders and getting it live on time and everything. It's a situation where I need to book out my narrators so far in advance,
Yeah. Well, it's important because I know that one of the pet peeves of the listeners is that it doesn't seem like some of the authors get that it's nice if the ebook and the audiobook come out together, because the perception is that you might think that the audiobook is not as important, which means that you think that the listener is not as important, which is not the case.
You know what? It's not the case. It's just a lot of work.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Yes.
I don't think anybody realizes, listen, I do it because it's important to me to do it, but it changed my whole entire schedule. And the stress levels are higher because of that. Yep. I used to write a book, and, if I released 2 books a year or 3 books a year, I had that, if every book I have to dedicate 8 weeks for audio, right? Like I'm saying, like, if you were to do a safe bet is 8 weeks, right? I always push it with 6.
Living dangerously.
I live dangerously, but I always give, right? I do. But it's a safe bet is to always have that book to the narrator 8 weeks early, right? That's 2 months. 2 months times 3 books, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that is stressful because you have to write your book, and I need to take a break. My books exhaust me, and I cannot physically start. I stopped writing. Well, not stopped writing. I gave Corrupt Kingdom on March 1st to Sebastian and Ava. Okay. I'm not writing again until May 1st. That's a 2-month break. Now, 1 month of it is solely because I have to promote said book, right? I have to do all the back end stuff. I have to do all the promotions. I have to do, everything it takes to be an indie. So technically I could have started in April, but then again, April is release month. So who has the concentration to start writing, and I have to plot it. So it changes everything. It's like, I think that's one of the things, like, and I feel bad because sometimes listeners are like, what do you mean there's no audio? Right. But I think that one of the things we need to remember is that it really is, it changes everything. And it is so important, but it's not a luxury that everybody has timing wise to have it simultaneous release.
Yes. I think that's one of the reasons why I do love having this podcast and the series for Audiobook Lovin. And that's kind of how it started, was to be able to share how the process works and how the process, has differed, as every year something new pops up. And I love the fact that we have the options now of doing an audiobooks, and that you guys are thinking about when you're writing the, already have the narrator in mind, as far as, because it makes the book a lot like, there's like an extra notch of awesomeness when that happens, because it's just it's well matched. But that's the other thing too, I tell the listeners when they're starting to the whole like, and I'm like, chill.
It is a lot. And it also changes the way you write a book.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't write the same way. If you pick up Transference, which was my first audio, right? And that wasn't simultaneous. And I'm very happy with that production. It was beautifully done. The narrators were fantastic. It was sold to Tanser. It was months later, right? It wasn't written with audio in mind. And you can see the difference in how much dialogue and banter I now write into my books as opposed to then. Because there's something special about listening to narrators like Shane or Zach or Sebastian or Jason Clark. There's something, or for example, the women, Andy and Ava, right? There's something, Grace, everybody. There's something special about listening to the way they banter and they do the dialogue and the way they make it come alive and how they are sarcastic and quick-witted. And so it changes the way you write. I mean, sometimes I toy with the idea of like doing multicast and making it really fun, right? But that's like a whole nother realm.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then there's the not duet, right? Which is the one where you have them in together.
Yes.
They're doing, and that's another way of changing how you write. So when you're going to write that book, you have to change how you write again. And And I always think about doing these things, but I think that it's a learning curve to how to do it properly. Like Lauren Blakely does it amazing. She is amazing at it. But, I don't know if my books would lend well to that yet. But it's like you constantly, like, doing the audiobook, it changes the way you promote. It changes the way you write. It changes the way you market. It changes everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the listeners are starting to learn a little bit more because you guys are sharing, part of the process, whether you're going through it or interviews like this, that it's a luxury and it's a perk and it's a benefit for sure, but not everybody has it, and I much rather wait for a book to be completely written and done or produced and from an audio perspective correctly and with the right cast versus having the author rush it and give me something that's meh,
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
the whole process it's a lot. And I love the fact that more authors are getting more into doing them in audio and thinking that way and giving us the banter, because there's nothing better than, and I really can't wait until one of your books is done in duets. Because that
I know I
banter
have to, I'm going to have to like talk to someone who's done duet and pick their brain on how is it the best way to write a duet book? Because I always joke, I actually made a joke, again, we go back to Shane, about, I was like, you know what, maybe I will narrate my own books and I'll fly to LA and we could do a duet. Or maybe I'll just have a cameo.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm not really narrating my own books, but
yeah. But it's still it's a skill set. I know that I was never really, I had to like read in front of people, and I am more confident when I'm just in my own head versus speaking out loud. And even like with these interviews, I have a script in front of me. I have the questions in front of me and I still stumble, and I have my tick words like and so and awesome. Those are my 3.
Yeah, I do too.
So
I think everybody does.
Yeah. So at this point I'm going, I'll let the Lucy Rivers and the Virginia Roses and the Andy Arendts and the Shanes and the Joes, I'll let them do their thing because they're good at it, and I will do
what?
thing.
It's 100% true. I obviously was joking when I said I would narrate my own book. I would never, because as much as it would sound like a really fun idea, it would be horrible. But it would be fun to just be there while they're doing it, duet style.
That is true.
Make a big party out of it, drink champagne. In my head, it's really glamorous.
But you got to be careful if the champagne comes into play before they're finished recording or during a recording, because that's
how about the last? How about the epilogue? We'll do the epilogue.
Yeah, because at that point it's going to be making for a really interesting recording session.
It'd be fun for the bloopers.
That is true. Yes, that is true. Oh my goodness, that sounds like fun. I want to go.
If I ever do it, I will invite you. You'll come.
Oh, thank you.
We'll have a big party.
Yeah, I'll either bring some, do some food, or I'll bring you your favorite champagne. What is your favorite champagne? Because you like this champagne, right?
You know what? I actually had this question asked during a live video, and my response is, I listen. There's a lot, okay. But there's some of them I actually responded back with my favorite one I can't pronounce. I don't have a nice French accent, and I don't want anybody to make fun of my really poor French accent.
Mm-hmm.
But I responded back. I'm going to respond with my favorite sparkling from California instead. I have a bunch. Okay. So obviously like Veuve Clicquot, right? Like that one is one of my favorites, but obviously Dom, right? And there is one that I love that's from Napa, and it is hold on a minute. I forgot what it is. It's the sparkling from Napa that I love. And I love it so much because they carry it at every restaurant.
Oh, nice.
I think it's Moet and Chandon. They carry it in every restaurant in a split. So it's the Brut Rosé, and it's, oh no, actually maybe it is from France. I don't even know. Now I'm looking it up because this is going to drive me crazy. And I'm trying to think if it was where it was from. Yeah, no, it totally is from France. I totally lied. And they make these splits, and they're in this Brut Rosé that I love, and it's just one glass, and I'm able to stock my kitchen with it. I do. I actually one time took a picture of what my kitchen, my fridge looks like. I had like 40 something small, because remember they're only a glass each, 40 something bottles. And yeah, there's like 5 since we started quarantine. It's really embarrassing.
No.
It's a bit embarrassing. Yeah.
Well, it's not like we've only been in quarantine for a couple of days. It's been a few weeks. So
I mean, we've been in quarantine for forever.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're fine. And there's some way. So
yes. Okay. So the Moet Chandon is from France, and it is a Brut Rosé. That it's my favorite little tiny split. And it has one glass. It has a pink label, and you can drink it by yourself and not feel like you're wasting it. And it's the perfect accompaniment to a night home with Netflix.
Yeah, I'm trying to expand my drinks, mixed knowledge and stuff like that, because I usually am the girl that does the fuzzy navel or the Bahama Mama, or I'll do like the beer for the Corona, and I like my wines that are the whites, and usually are the sweet wines, so the Rieslings.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to expand, the different types of, alcohol that are out there when it comes down to things like the champagne, because I think I recently just found one that I was like, oh, okay, not too bitter. Doesn't give you that toughness in the back of the throat kind of thing.
Well, that's the nice thing about a Brut Rosé.
Yeah.
So it's I'm sure you've had a rosé before.
Yeah.
And so it's just a sparkling rosé. So it has that like sweetness to it, but a little bit of that, dryness at the same time. And so I've moved from champagne to drinking Brut Rosés if it's an option now, because I found that I can't drink as much if it's too dry. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
We all have our own taste and stuff like that. I know people are like Scotch and bourbon, and I've tried that too.
And tequila, and there's people who love tequila. My husband loves tequila.
There is one tequila
always
that I like.
And I'm telling you, I can't drink tequila.
Well, it's the tequila that I like, and I'll send you the label on it so you can check it out. It's not your traditional tequila taste, which is why I like it, because otherwise I would have been not a fan.
I can't drink tequila since college. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's saying a lot.
one bad story, and that's enough.
Exactly. Hey, sometimes that's all we need.
One bad story.
But yeah, it's there's nothing worse than finding a drink that you like and then not being able to find it anywhere in the store. I found a port in that I was staying at a B&B in Savannah, Georgia, and I tried it and I loved it, and it's nowhere here in Florida where I can find it.
You know what you do? You go to your local. This is what I did with the champagne that I like, with the little tiny bottles that they only carry in restaurants, right?
Yeah.
I told them what I liked. I went to the local, like, what is it called? Liquor store.
Yeah.
And I told them exactly what I wanted. And they called me on the phone like a week later, and they said, we will be able to get that for you, but you have to buy a case. And I said, make it 2. Right.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you're okay with that? And I said, how much is it? And he told me, and it's not expensive, and I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be. And I was like, you know what? This is going to get me a long time. I have 2 cases now. It's 40 something little tiny glasses. And again, it's like one a night for quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah, but it also makes you happy, just like the audiobooks. I mean, people are always like, are you listening to another audiobook? Are you reading another book?
Yes.
So it's just like, this is what I like, and that's what you
I
like.
don't have enough.
Yeah, there is no such thing as enough. And I think goodness that there's electronic devices, because I'm at a point now where I don't buy the paperbacks unless I love the story and or the author.
I'm the same.
Yeah, and usually it's because I'm going to see them at an event and I'm going to get them to write my name on it.
Well, that's the truth, right? And also the truth of the matter is we read too much.
We
read so much. I don't know about you, but I read, well, with not even including the millions of hours I spend binge watching Netflix, I read at least a book a night.
Oh wow.
I can't buy a book a night, right? I mean, maybe I read a book every 2 days now because of everything with the TV and stuff. I've been watching a lot of TV. but, but I mean, that's a lot of books.
It is, yeah. And I know that some people go through these books like they do 2 a day. Granted, they speed up the narration, which I personally do not do, nor do I like, because I'm not going to speed up Shane. I'm not going to speed up Sebastian or an Andy or anything like that, but that's how they get, through it faster. And I'm like, how do you still 2 books in one day?
No, that's too much.
Yeah. I was like,
I can watch 16 episodes of Netflix in one day.
Yeah, that's different though. Yeah.
Who needs sleep?
Yeah.
Who needs sleep?
Yeah, I know. I've been watching a show lately. I did Schitt's Creek recently.
Oh, did you like it? We haven't watched that yet.
Oh my God.
We just finished Blacklist, which is amazing.
So that's on my list. Yeah, no, I had heard it that it's been really good and everything. So I'm like, well, let's just give it a try. And we binged it. It's Netflix has it only through season 5, and season 6 just finished, and it's wrapped up. So I'm waiting for it. But yeah, it's so good. You need to watch it.
That was us in Blacklist. We decided to watch Blacklist. Like, I want to say, like day 2 of Shelter in Place. And it became a joke because I have these 2 friends, Lee Shen and Parker S. Huntington, and they'd be like calling me and they'd be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I really can't talk to you. They're like, okay. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm watching Blacklist. And it became like they would just like make fun of me because it didn't matter what I was doing. Like, all I would do is wake up. I have 2 children. I don't know what the hell they were doing during those hours. We'd wake up, and from beginning, we'd make breakfast, sit down, watch TV, make lunch, sit down, watch TV. We caught up in like, I want to say 8 seasons in like a week or 2 weeks. It took us 2 weeks to do 8 seasons. And it was like, it was like my kids had to fend for themselves. Like, they were just like alone in the house. we were awful. Oh, my kids are like, is it done yet? I'm like, almost. So yeah.
It's well, when you find a show, it's the same thing now, like with Schitt's Creek. It's really funny, but it's also, it has this sarcasm and it has this, little moments where you're going, damn. But it's really good. It's smart writing, because that's the other thing that I don't like when things are like dumbed down.
Well, that's why we like Blacklist. And it's just such a smart show. And the delivery of the main character, which is played by James Spader, is just on point. Yeah. No one delivers a line like he does.
No, yeah.
And he makes the show, and it's just so brilliantly done that I'm just, oh wow, and it's more of like every episode is a different case. And I love the idea. I like suspense, which is why I'm trying to like make my books more suspenseful. I love suspenseful stories in which you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know who the villain is. And it's like my favorite thing in the world to read and to watch. So I'm trying to like move my books in that direction.
I mean, you're spending how many hours writing a book? It should be something that you enjoy,
Well, yeah. I mean, so I've always loved billionaires, and I've always loved alpha assholes. Right. I just love them. So, which is funny because I did not marry an alpha asshole. My husband is like the nicest person in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
But I love to read those. So I just, I love that suspenseful type of story. So now I'm writing that type of story now. I think as writers, we have to like, we have to write what we love. And if that changes, you adapt to it too and write something different and still that you love, because it makes it enjoyable.
Exactly. Otherwise, I think we can tell when the author's not enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah. You can, as a reader, I can tell.
Yeah, I was like, no, just stop. Do us all a favor and just write what you want. What would you like to do? So much better. Here's a question that I'd love to see what your going to share because it's interesting enough with the following. So as an author, I hear a lot that, oh, I don't read my reviews. I don't read my reviews. I don't read my reviews.
Oh my God, I read my reviews.
Okay, well, that's good because it's perfect, because the question is, when it comes down to reviews, what exactly should a person consider when writing it? Like, what would make, besides the whole like, oh my God, it's so awesome, and everything was great. So what do you consider to be a good review, a written review?
Well, first of all, I want to know emotionally what they got from my story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love reading reviews in which they tell me they cried, they were on the edge of their seat, they felt like I sucker punched them, but then I healed them at the same time. Love reading those reviews. They're my favorite reviews in the whole entire world to read. I like clap for myself, like, yes, she cried. Oh, sorry. That's not what I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I totally
You guys
did.
love that.
Right? Like, and that's like the positive review. Like, there's nothing, like, I love reading reviews where the reader tells me in the review that they had no idea what was coming. And I'm like, okay, thank God, because that's really what I was going for. I really didn't want you to see that coming. So I really, really, really love reading that they were completely surprised, and it was suspenseful, and it was a page turner, And then there's also, I obviously read my 1-star reviews or my 2-star reviews or my 3-star reviews, right? The constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the reviews that have nothing to do with and it happens to every author. It's 100% like attacks on the author, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like that has a place in reviews.
Correct.
Right? But you look for other things, and I look at it constructively. I do find it very interesting that for some people, you'll have a review that will say the book was too fast. And then you'll have the same review right above that says the book was too slow, right? So I find that to be fascinating, right? Like, my slow burn, I write slow burns. They're longer books. They're 95,000 words, they're not short books. They're longer books. I mean, they're not 150,000. They're not like 3 books in one, but they're longer books. So, and they are slow burns. My characters typically don't. I've written books that were faster. The Lancaster series that I have, those were faster stories, right? They tended to hook up a little bit faster. But most of my books, I would say 90% of them, are slow burn, like a trickle, like, it's a forbidden romance, And so, it always fascinates me when readers will say the book is too slow, and then at the same time, someone will say it went too fast. And so I look at it more for constructive criticism, for pacing, right? Like, okay, so I thought it was okay that this was this slow. In my head, that worked, but apparently maybe I should reconsider when I make how much is too much angst?
Yeah.
Right? That's something that I look for in constructive criticism. You do look for certain things.
Well, that's good too, because I know that I don't agree with those attacks that they do. Unfortunately, some people do that. I also and it's a review, so it's an opinion of something, and you know what they say about opinion. Everybody has one.
There's no question. There's tons of books
mm-hmm.
that I love that other people don't,
exactly.
And vice versa, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't take it personally. Like, if someone thinks that my book is too slow, it wasn't the right book. It's a slow burn. If you wanted them to have sex in chapter 1, that wasn't going to happen with my book. Sorry. Yeah. Right. And, and that's okay. There is a story for you, and there is a book that you will love. And I'm happy you gave my book a try, but that's just not my type of writing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, everybody has different types. I love different types of books. I love bully books. Not everybody loves bully books, right?
Right.
But I do read them. I know a lot of my friends do not read reviews, and I do. And not all the time. Like, now my book is 2 weeks old. I have, over 100 reviews, so I'm not reading them all, right? But like, in the beginning, I do read them, and I'm guilty of, if I do get a review that's 3 stars or below, I will click on it to see what's the deal. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, why did I do that? That was horrible. Like, I really shouldn't have done that. And then other times I'll be like, okay, maybe I didn't word this properly in my blurb that they didn't realize right? Like,
Yeah.
like a constructive review would be like, you know, them saying they didn't think the book was dark. And I was like, well, I didn't really say it was going to be dark. So maybe I needed to market this better, right? Maybe they just misinterpreted that, right? Like, you know, whatever it is. I mean, obviously you know, maybe I did something poorly with, you know, the way I expressed what the book was about somewhere, you know, and so they thought they were going to get something else. And so that's a constructive criticism, right? But not really, because it's an opinion. They didn't like it because of X, Y, Z, but maybe it can help me in the future with the way I word things in an advertising or promo campaign, right? So that's why I look at things, not necessarily for, you know, the fact that, like, you know, somebody doesn't, they don't like the fact that my book takes place in New York, you know, like that's, I'm not going to be able to change that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But like, you know, maybe it's something that helps me in the future to figure out what I'm doing, you know, for the next book. I don't know, but maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. Maybe that's it.
No, but I mean, it's we write the reviews, and you know, I know a lot of authors don't read them, but at the same time, I kind of like the idea that you guys would read the reviews that we wrote, and if there is some,
I do read all of my good reviews. I do,
yeah,
all of them, every
exactly.
last one of them.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So, do you consider a 3-star review? Because that's like an ongoing conversation, whether a 3-star review
Honestly,
is actually a good or bad.
So a 3-star review, in my opinion, it depends on the review.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So I do read 3 stars because I'm very curious of why it was a 3-star, because I find that 3 stars are very helpful for the author, right? Typically the person really enjoyed your book, but it wasn't, first of all, 4 stars are great, right? 4 stars is a great book because, I mean, unless, you know, some people, you know, give 4 stars and their 4 stars is a 5-star to them. They loved it. It was amazing. Like, you know, but the 3-star, it kind of gives you a good indication of like what you did that maybe you could change in the future. Now, that's not to say I would change anything about my books. Like sometimes I just can't, like, there's nothing I would be able to do to change that for the reader because that's my style. Right. And so like the 3-star was like, I really love this book. This plot was amazing. I got this one for Conceal Out. This is a real review. I can't go into more detail other than the fact that they love the plot. They love the story. The reason it was a 3-star was because it wasn't in third person. And so I thought to myself, you know what? This is a really great 3-star review because I'm never going to change that. Right? But I know you loved my story and I know you loved it, and you should, like, you know, the thing is that's why there's a sample, right? Like they could have read the sample and saw that it was first person present tense and they don't like it. But at the same point, it's great because I know that the story was good.
Yep.
And it's just, that's a preference.
Exactly.
Right? That's a personal preference. And so I do like to read 3 stars. I mean, I don't love to read 1-star reviews, but every once in a while I will do it because sometimes I do walk away with really good critiques, especially not as much now. Now a 1-star is pretty much something I can't change. It usually has to do with how, like, the slow burn of a book. They wish that they had gotten together faster, you know, that kind of thing. That's not my story. You know, so, but I will read them, just, again, a glutton for punishment. And I think it keeps me humble. Right?
Well, I think also too, it's great that you're looking at it that way. And I kind of wish that maybe more authors looked at it that way, but you also have to have a thicker skin because people can be mean.
Oh yeah. I had one review for one book where they said that the author was full of herself with her verbose writing. And I said, okay, right.
But it's interesting. That might actually make me want to pick it up because that's, smart
right?
writing.
That's what I thought. I was like, and I have another review where they said the plot was too twisted, too intricate, and too much detail. And I was like, well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Well, I've seen reviews where they're like, it's too much sex. I'm like, I'm buying that one.
Well, that's, for me as a reader,
yeah.
I love to read 1-star reviews, and I click on more books because of 1-star reviews. So for me, that's one of the reasons I do look at the 1-star reviews, right? Because for me, all I got, and I actually copy and pasted that review that I just told you and told my friends, this is the best 1-star review that any person could ever have.
Yep.
Because she didn't like my book because it was too intricate. The plot was too detailed. It was too twisted. And I was like, this is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted. Thank you. Thank you, 1-star. I want to thank you because that means I did my job and I wrote the book that I wanted. And as a reader, because, you know, obviously I read a book a day. Anytime I read a review in which they talk about how the guy is the biggest jerk in the whole entire world and it's borderline abuse, right?
Like,
and that it's, I'm like, yes, I will. And then if it starts off with like, he kidnapped her and he was the biggest jerk, I'm like, 1-star, go. I mean, yes, best, yes, buy it. You had me at jerk.
Yeah.
You had me at jerk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done that too with the audiobook sometimes where I read the reviews and they're saying, oh, the author used the F word too many times. And I'm going, well, I use it as a noun, adjective, verb, pronoun. And
it is all of those things.
Exactly. And then I'm like, well, who's the narrator? And I'm going, oh, it's Shane. Yes, please.
Well, that's why we added the fucking extra 5 times.
Exactly.
No one says it like he does.
Yeah.
We consciously did that, sweetheart.
Thank you.
I added one a chapter because I needed to hear him say it every chapter.
Exactly.
I actually told him there were certain words that I never had in my books. Certain words, you know, that describe the male, you know, whatever. And I specifically added them just to hear him say them. Only in his books. You will notice a few 4-letter words, right? That are only in Shaney's books because I just wanted to hear him say it. And he's like, wow, thanks. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
He's like, so Zachary didn't have to do this. I was like, no, I'm sorry.
No.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah. Well, you'll learn too that Zach also has a few words too that people love to hear him say.
Really? What?
Yeah.
Send a list.
Yeah, I will. And then and I'll send you the one for Jason Clark because that's another one too that he can say that the fuck really good.
You know what? Sebastian York says a really good F-bomb.
Yeah.
He F-bombs it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
I add a lot of those when he's I'll start off a chapter with it just to hear him say it.
Yeah, exactly. But again, that's also where it comes into the dynamic of you writing a book that is specifically knowing that it's going to be an audio and knowing who you're casting for it. And
100%.
You know, so that's, you know, we love them for one of the main reasons why we love a Jason or a Joe or a Shane is because of sort of the things, how they say it. And, you know, for the authors, it's a smart thing to do.
You know, there should be a list in like a group that says for us authors, like if you're going to hire Shane or Joe or Sebastian or Jason, these are their words. These are the words as readers that we need. You need to check them all off.
Yes.
Right.
Minimum of one per chapter.
Like a minimum of what, like, you know, like a study sheet.
Yeah.
You know, like just like one of those like little cheat sheets. And when I'm writing, I'm like, okay, so I hired Joe and Joe says, oh, that's what Joe says. Good. Okay. I'm going to make sure to slip that in at least 6 times in this book. Yeah. I think this is something we should create.
I will help you set that up if you want to.
I think it's important.
Yes. Again, it's just one of those things. I mean, and like Emma Wilder, her guy voice. Oh my God. And also her own voice.
So she is one of the people I met and I adore her.
Yes.
I met her when I was in LA and she is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Like talk about girl crush. I just fell in love with her.
Mm-hmm. She's fantastic. And she has not only does the guy voice, because that's also a pet peeve of mine when the opposite sex doesn't do the voice correctly of their opposite sex that they're narrating. And she has such a sexy, silky, like lower range voice.
I'm going to message her right now and be like, will you do a minute? Hi. Will you talk to me? Say this word in your best male raspy voice.
Yeah. But they can also say it in the best female voice. That's the other thing too, that it's like, wow, I mean, I'm straight. I like my team.
Well,
you know?
that's exactly like and even emotionally, like
Yes.
when I like emotionally, like Andy, she can make me cry and I know what's happening. Like
Mhm.
she can make me cry when I know what's going to come when I'm proofing my audiobook. I wrote the damn story. And yet she still made me cry,
Yeah.
which I just think her performance and intention like had me on the floor. You know what I mean? Like she just killed it. And obviously Shane, he did an amazing job as well, but she had me like sobbing. He was okay.
It's all right.
he was decent.
Yeah.
But she had me like crying, and I told her, I was like, this is just, I mean, to have someone read your words and make me cry this much is just, a talent.
It is. Yeah. Emma has such a great, also timing when it comes down to the sarcasm, as well as some of those really quick, witty, funny lines.
Yeah. She's on my list of, I was saying, remember I said there was people I met, and I just love her. And like, I hope that one day in the future, hopefully 21 or 22, I'm able to write a book that would do her justice, and just be able to, because, she's very funny. And so, it really has to be the right book, so like the girl has to be snarky and witty and funny. And so like, it would just have to be the right book. But I hope that one day I'll be able to work with her because she really is amazing.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we get to listen to her. So, hey, bonus, right?
Exactly.
A win-win situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I would love to see that list of yours, of the narrators that you want to.
I have a long list. I'll send them to you, and you can tell me what books you think what type of books. I'll send you a list of the names that I want to work with, and you can tell me what type of characters they do best.
Awesome. I will do that. Yes, that sounds like fun. I love homework like that.
So now you have 2 assignments.
Yes.
You spoke on the phone with me, and you got 2 assignments.
Damn.
One, you have to come up with the best words that Joe, Shane, Emma, Andy, Sebastian, the best words they say.
Okay, yep.
And 2, you have to come up with the characters they do best.
Awesome. I'm there. Excel spreadsheet will be done.
Excel spreadsheet. It's color coded.
Yeah, mine are.
I knew it. I knew you were that person.
Yeah, what do they say? A lady in the streets and a freak in the spreadsheets.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, Megan Tucci is because her background was in corporate world before getting into the whole narrating thing. And so when she and I were talking, we discovered that we both love to do the the whole spreadsheet thing. And it's really how I keep things straight, because there's just so many things going on at the same time. But yeah, I'm the girl that will color code things. But you get exactly what you want. You'll get that list, and then you can organize it however you want, by the asshole, by the witty girl, whatever. So you'll be fed.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is my highlight for the rest of the year.
Oh, damn, girl, no. Oh my goodness.
It's the little things that make us happy at this time.
That is true. It is those little things. It's just those little moments. And that's also where I love this, the community, because they're so funny and people are so passionate about the audiobooks that there's always, if you say, hey, I want a snarky asshole hero, people will automatically say, bam, these are the ones you have to read. And your name's always in those lists. So that's also something that's great. So that's where I love that community. It's very much of involving, and they have the passion and I
have to tell you, it really is beautiful. I mean, I don't think there's any other word. I was tagged so many times recently in oral fixation for Corrupt Kingdom. And every time I get tagged, and normally I'm not tagged, like the listener doesn't know to tag me, but somebody will come into the comments to be like, Ava, you need to read this post. And, and it's not necessarily, it's about Sebastian and Ava, obviously, because the narration, but it's just so nice to be like, to have they're so enthusiastic. All the listeners, they love it. And, I just love it. I think it's one of the reasons that, sometimes I'm like, I'll be like, basically like crying on a deadline. And my husband like looks at me, he's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, because it needs to be perfect for Sebastian and Ava, right? because so many people are looking forward to having it be perfect for Sebastian and Ava. I don't know if so many people, but, people are looking forward to it. Those people I've told that's what it's going to be. So,
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but it's
But
you've
it's
been
worth it
killing it.
because
Exactly.
I'm telling every time someone says anything about the book or the audio, it's just like, okay, all those endless nights of, of editing, I mean, I I edit my books for one full month to make it the way that I want it. And so it makes it worth it.
That's good. It's also that's a nice thing, like it is to know that it's worth it. And as long as you're still
Yeah.
happy at the end of it, that you still want to go and get the next book written, that's also a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I'm never doing this again. I'm so tired. And
Yeah.
then a week later, I'm like, so I just spoke to Kim at Lyric and I hired XYZ.
Yeah, I
And
thought
then my
you weren't
friends are
doing
like, I
anymore,
thought
huh?
you were never doing it again. And I was like, oh, okay.
Damn.
Okay, fine. I was full of crap.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that and we love that. It's a labor of love, and it's a reason why it's called that. It's a labor of love.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Exactly. So there's something that I like to do with all my guests towards the end of the show is play a little game with them.
Okay.
And so I have the Would You Rather game. So if you're up for it, we can do a couple of those.
Yes, of course.
Cool. So would you rather always be 10 minutes late or always 20 minutes early?
Oh, 20 minutes early.
Mhm. You say that like
I
that's
am
it.
painfully early.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not one to
It
talk.
is.
I'm the same way.
You know what? I actually joke because I say to my husband, like, we need to stop this. We need to stop. We need to be the people who are late. And then he turns to me and he's like, Ava, you hate being late. And I'm like, okay, fine. And we're always 20 minutes early. Always. We've shown up to bridal like rehearsal dinners like an hour before the bride got there. This is us.
Well, we can always count on you then to be there. So it's always a good thing.
Yes.
Yep. Would you rather be able to teleport anywhere or be able to read minds?
Oh, honestly, I'm going to go teleport.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't want to know what people think about me in their heads. I love to travel. I love to go places. I hate to fly, right? And so I travel a lot. I travel at least minimum of 4 times a year to see my family, and then at least 4 times a year on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like 8 times a year. I basically travel probably more than that. I probably wind up traveling once a month.
Wow.
And so for someone who hates to fly, that's really hard.
Yeah.
So I would take teleporting any day, all day, over ever hearing what anybody thinks about me in their head.
I'm there with you. I would do the same thing. Yep. Would you rather never have to clean a bathroom again or never have to do dishes again?
Oh. Huh. Honestly, I feel like dishes. I don't want to do dishes. I know that sounds weird. So I have like this like OCD with food on dishes and water. My New York just came out with that water.
Yeah, water.
Yeah, water. And sometimes it comes out more than others. I don't like wet paper towel. It skeeves me out, and I don't like wet food on dishes. And so I will put away the dishes, and my husband will put them in the dishwasher, or at least he'll rinse them off like a conveyor belt. He'll rinse them off, pass them to me. I'll put them in the dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem cleaning toilets. I just put those big giant rubber yellow gloves on.
Oh, the things you learn.
And so yeah, like the giant ones, the ones that come up to your like elbow.
Yeah.
And then you get the brush and you just, spray it and just let it sit for 20 minutes and then scrub it out. That's easy. But there's something about wet food.
We all have something, right? We all have our thing.
I have a lot of some things.
Oh, how funny. Would you rather be invisible or fast?
Invisible. I would rather, because then invisible is a good one. I think it's better than being fast because then you can like sneak up on people.
Yeah,
which
that
kind of contradicts my I don't want to read heads.
Yes, but still, it's a little different. It makes sense. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Would you rather lose your sense of touch or your sense of smell?
Okay, wait. So I don't get to touch anything, ever again, or I
Well,
can't
your
smell
sense,
anything.
you know how you have people that are really
Well,
bad,
the
like,
problem is if you can no longer smell, you can no longer taste.
yeah.
So that's a hard one. I mean, I really like to eat. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with I'd get rid of touch. Sorry, sweetie, wherever you are, honey.
Well, the sense of touch, it means that you could go into, like, you can, touch something that's really cold and you wouldn't tell, you wouldn't be able to know. Or you can touch something
Yeah.
really
I'm
hot
good.
and not
I'm
burn
happy
yourself.
with my decision. I will
Yeah,
never touch anything ever again. As long as
sold.
I could taste that cheesecake.
Yeah. Hey, priorities for sure.
Right. Priorities.
Would you rather always be hot or always be cold?
Always be cold. I hate
Yeah.
being hot.
Yeah. All right, last one. Would you rather have a personal chef or a personal masseuse?
Personal chef.
Cool.
Again, I really like to eat. Like a lot. It's all I've been doing, okay? You want to know the real answer of what I've been doing during quarantine?
It's eating.
I have been eating a lot.
We do what we can with what we have and what we
Yes.
do it. So no worries.
Yes,
there, for sure.
exactly. The things that make us happy.
Exactly. So before we go, if you can share, of course, what are you working on next or what comes out next for you?
Oh, you caught me at a bad time because I just released a book.
Yep.
And so I'm not ready to say, okay, fine, I'll give you a little, I'll do it here. I'll do the announcement here.
Yeah, and also this is going to come out in June. So it's, we still have a little bit of wiggle room there too.
I mean, I probably still wouldn't have announced it, but I might as well announce it now because, I am working on a spin-off of Corrupt Kingdom. It's going to be a complete standalone, and it is actually one of his associates. It is going to be Alaric from Corrupt Kingdom story. And you heard it first.
Oh, thank you. Yay. I'm so excited.
Not even the narrators know who they're playing. See?
Isn't that great? Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I like it when authors do spin-offs. It kind of gets a little different world.
It's you know what? I love to do cameos. I love to throw in every one of my books, somebody from a different book shows up. It's like an Easter egg, right? And so I love doing that. And so even though they're standalones, like this is really a standalone. Like it's not there are no family members. It's nothing like that. It's a real standalone. However, it's an associate that was in the other book. So you got to know him a little bit. Mm-hmm. No spoilers, right? But at the same time, he gets his own story.
That's awesome.
And I'm excited.
Yeah, no, me too. I can't wait. And then I can't wait until you actually announce who the narrators are going to be and get to see that cover. It's all a process. And I was like, you get a little closer, you're going, yay.
Oh, I will tell you again, because now at this point, I'm just giving it all away. I have been, I don't even know the right word for what I have been drooling over this cover for 4 years, I think, this image. At least 4 years, maybe 3. I have been in love with this model at this very moment. Now this could change. He hasn't been on any cover, right? It could change. I mean, the book doesn't come out until freaking October. For all I know that, he'll do a cover tomorrow. Yeah. But he hasn't been on a cover yet. I've been in love with him for 4 years.
Wow.
I couldn't see what character he could ever, at the time when I fell in love with him. He just didn't have the look of any of the characters I had previously written. And the moment I decided to take a different step, I was like, this is the character I want him to be. But I had to contact his modeling agency and basically like beg, plead, and like offer them like my kidney. But now that I've officially signed the contract, right? Yeah. And he's mine. It is my, and he's mine.
Mine.
No, I'm kidding. Mine. Yeah. He is amazing, and it is and I hate to say this because poor every other cover of every other model before this. He is my favorite. Yeah,
Well, you mean
he's that good.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I cannot wait. Cannot wait.
I'm blushing just thinking about it.
Oh, wow. I always
Yeah,
like it
I'm
when an author
excited.
blushes. That means a lot because of the stuff that you write sometimes. I'm going,
Yeah,
damn,
I
you're
know.
blushing. Wow.
I'm blushing, which is why I'm so excited to start writing. Is it May 1st yet? Because I am so excited for him.
Yeah. Well, a couple more days. You know, from when we're recording now. So you'll have them soon
Yeah.
enough. Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
yeah. I am excited for you. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for us as the listeners and the readers because, again, we love it when you guys are excited about stuff. So that makes it even better. On our end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ava, for being my guest for this year's Audiobook Loving Series, and thank you for also coming back because Shane is part of this world of mine. So the fact that you guys did that interview was also really much fun. So thank you for being
Yes,
with us.
that was so much fun. And thank you so much. And this has been so much fun. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. Until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you for joining us in the Audiobook Lovin Series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode, as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, linked within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to the series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.